on hold with the doctor's office, and they started playing The Exorcist. It's still ringing in my head, and once again, it's like as if acid reflux has encompassed my entire being, and I'm spitting up pea soup. I would imagine Jim Harbaugh is this whole Jim Harbaugh suspension and how bizarre the entire story is. It does seem odd. Now, the NCAA, I would imagine, is less influential than the World Boxing Council
Yeah, this is the big
in terms of credibility and its ability to go ahead and administrate what was going on in college football. This is an interesting story on so many different levels. As you look at Jim Harbaugh being suspended supposedly for the final 3 games. Now, the fascinating part to me, Lubie, is that you have Jim Harbaugh, a Michigan coach, beloved in the state of Michigan. At different times that they've had their differences with him. Well, when they're losing.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
He wasn't so fucking popular. But now he's a god. Everybody's wearing khaki pants. Incredible.
Doctors are so bad.
But the issue is Michigan decoding their signals. This is Carlos Beltran banging on a garbage can and telling Jose Altuve, go ahead and steal. Coming home. They knew everything.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, along with one Mike Lubie Lubitz here, and happy to be with you. 5 Reasons Sports Network and South Florida Live. As it's the day after, the aftermath, Lubie. I keep reading accounts. See, I don't know that we can get away from this. I know we talked about it at great length yesterday. The hose job, which as it settles in, the hose job of Florida State. And we called it yesterday. I think we came up with the right idea. It went from a big discussion about election fraud in 2020 to now selection fraud, which is really a shame from a lot of different fronts. Understandably, the message is not a good one. And most people are to the point of view of how can you tell a team that it's very important to go out there and win all of your games? And then they go out and they win all of their games at a high level of competition, high enough not to necessarily need to be questioned. In other words, if you thought that the ACC was so far inferior to the SEC, then why have them get consideration at all? This was your number 4 team in the rankings before last week. Now, by accordance to just about everything that we've ever seen in the history, even when they voted on such things, where they had the coaches poll, which we know was bogus. The coaches didn't actually vote. It was the SIDs. They were going to put in, their own team, and that was going to be it. And so the rankings were fugazi from the very beginning. Always had a little bit of a gray area, you would say, if you will. And yet, I mean, it was pretty common that if you won your game, it didn't matter. You were probably going to retain your ranking, unless you really were all out life and death to beat some team that was in the bottom 100, somewhere near the bottom of the 128 schools or whatever it is that are in the Division I rankings system. And you were life and death and somebody else clobbered a top-ranked team. Okay, so maybe you'd get some juxtaposition there, but you would never see a team that was ranked 4th in the rankings win a game against a credible opponent, a 15th ranked team in the country, and a division champion in the ACC. You would never see them drop all the way to, well, where did they end up? 5th, I guess. But you would never see them drop behind 2 teams that were ranked 7th and 8th. It's impossible.
Yes, they're 7th and 8th and had a loss each, and they're undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. If Alabama had been in the same situation, and Milroe had gotten hurt in their ball game a couple of weeks ago against Auburn, and they still went out and won their game.
Would have been
if the situation was reversed, is there any possibility whatsoever that they would have dropped Alabama out of the rankings?
Nick Saban would have done what he did. Mike Norvell wasn't trying to. Well, first of all, he doesn't have the weight as Nick Saban, but he honors the game, and he wasn't about politicking until this weekend. He wanted his team to win 13 games, and then he was going to politic. And he did. And I think he did a better job than any of the coaches. He was actually sincere when Smart and Saban were hominahing it and just looked like phony assholes. But it worked, I guess. Saban would have just been politicking. He'd have been like, yeah, I know we lost our guy, but this is a team sport, right? We are known for our defense and our running. We win games. And after every game, that's what he would have said. And then when they went 13-0, he would have said 13-0. The SEC, even though the SEC actually isn't rated any better than the ACC this year. The SEC isn't rated any better than the Big Ten this year. The SEC actually scheduled a horrendous out of conference and was horrible in that horrendous out of conference. They still have this thing in the mind. Well, it's not even that. They signed a $3 billion TV deal with ESPN. Like, I mean,
therein lies your problem, Louis.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. What a terrible thing, though, to do. I mean, they always talk about, well, it's all about the kids. And no one can ever say that with a straight face anymore. Nobody that's involved with the selection committee. I mean, how can you possibly deny these guys a chance to at least contend for the national championship? How do you know that the guy's not going to have some breakthrough game in the national championship game? It didn't look good with the freshmen, but you were getting this Rodemaker guy back. And since when should that matter? Who's on your roster? As long as you're producing the results that are required, that are part of the criteria for being in that position. To have two undefeated teams go unquestioned into the Final Four, and then the other undefeated team, that it wasn't as if they were playing all patsies all year long. This wasn't Northern Illinois winning the MAC.
What's funny is their strength of schedule was never an issue. They had a top 20 strength of schedule until the end of the year. Well, so it's their fault that Clemson wasn't dominant this year. It's their fault that UM, which was ranked at one point, remember, UM got ranked at some point, screwed around. It's their fault that UF, again, was ranked at multiple times this season. It's their fault that they struggled. It's their fault that Louisville, which was top 10 the week before, but suffered it tough. They didn't get the luck of a Hail Mary to keep them in their ranking. They lost by a touchdown to Kentucky, an SEC team, but still was top 15. Still with a top 20 offense. Like that's the strength of schedule. This wasn't that year, right? Because FSU went out of the conference to play LSU, not even an SEC team, a good SEC team. And they went out of conference to play UF, who was supposed to be better. So they covered their ass. Oh, the ACC. No. We're going to go out of conference, play two SEC teams. You can't give a shit. We're going to go on the road to play Clemson. You can't give a shit. Strength of schedule was never an issue till this weekend. Suddenly, Saturday night, they show, well, they have a 55 strength. I'm like, where did that happen? Wow, you guys did some work to make our strength of schedule suck, because it was never bad all year. Now, all of a sudden, it's the fourth of all it's the worst of all. But the strength of record, which is a new stat, which actually combines the actual season you play with the schedule, was third.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So even your stupid ass stats that are bullshit still say FSU's top 3.
It's Donald Trump again. I mean, rearing his ugly head, his ugly, fat, orange head. It's Trumpism all the way. Just deny the results. In other words, you lost by like 9 million votes, but whatever. But just go ahead and contend that it was all a joke. That everything that preceded the election, in this case the selection, had zero meaning whatsoever, and you're just going to stay there and defiantly say that, you know what, this is what we decided, so that's the way it's going to be. I'm surprised, that the committee made any statements whatsoever, because what they did was a complete disgrace, and it's unfortunate because it really it tears at the very fiber. Lubie, how about this for a statement? It tears at the very fiber of what sport is all about, my friend.
Yes,
competition.
The game.
And if you can't judge by competition, and there's no way that you could make a case after this Louisville game, which was even more remarkable that Florida State was able to win that game. See, I'm sure the committee already had made their decision.
Yes, yeah.
And they were just praying. And this is interesting. There's a parallel to last night's game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I mentioned because in passing, I had asked a friend of mine about a horse. This guy's pretty knowledgeable, and he's good friends. The story goes like this. I don't know if we got into it yesterday, but a friend of mine, Francesco, who we often discuss various wagers that can be made involving our good friend, our mutual friend, the great Luca Panici, who you've met, Lubie, and could he be a nicer guy?
He's a great guy. Yeah, great guy.
He's a pillar of integrity. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't do drugs. He is as honest as they come when it comes to riding horses, even if you don't like the way that he rides or the horses that he happens to get on. Right? So he exercises. He supplements his income. All of these guys, even the top guys, exercise horses in the morning. Luca does a lot of it, and he breaks in a lot of horses, 2-year-olds and horses that haven't run before. So he would have a little bit of an idea about who was looking good, at least in the morning. Now, there are horses, the phrase in racing is morning glories. And it's just like if you looked at Allen Iverson in practice, you would never make a bet on his team to win a game, would you? Because he didn't care about practice. There are horses that react the same way. They're just lousy practice players. So anyway, he had called my buddy Francesco about this horse a month in advance, which he never does. He says, listen, as soon as this horse runs, he's going to romp. He's going to win by 20 lengths. Doesn't matter what the price is, you want to put your money on. So he calls Francesco again, Luca Panici we're talking about. He calls him again the day before the race and says, don't forget this horse. The name of the horse was Kuwait Towers. Kuwait Towers is running tomorrow. Don't forget to put your money in. Now, my buddy Francesco is a guy that he would be happy to have $5 to win on one of these tip horses. That's kind of the way he plays. He just does it for the fun of it, the excitement. He wants to have a couple of bucks on it. Kind of like people are doing now with the sports betting app, right? We're seeing our buddy Mike Mayo puts $5 on a thing. He gets all excited because he won $37. Although one of our mutual friends, a very shrewd gambler at times, Mike Nyman, had a 5 or 7 element parlay on the Dolphins game against the Commanders. All very favorable numbers that he had backed involving the Dolphins in terms of points scored, Tyreek Hill. He had one prop bet was that Tyreek Hill would have a catch for over 30 yards in the game. Is that something you should just mail in every time, Lubie? How many times would you go down on that? Isn't it fairly typical that Tyreek Hill has at least a 30-plus yard catch in any game? You might want to always have money on that action. Anyway, he combines it all. $50 gets him back $1,300 on this. Now, that's a nice score. I mean, you're betting a small amount of money to win a lot of money. Naturally, a lot of things have to fall into place, and there are a zillion ways for things to get fucked up. Much like the case here with this horse, Kuwait Towers, who now Francesco, who bets like $5 a game, and his wife watches all of the action because he's betting it. I guess the money is coming out of some account that she has access to, which is always dangerous, guys, right? Do you ever want the woman in your life to know how much money you're gambling? See, now in my case, it's sort of in reverse because I have tempered my horse playing down to basically what I do Friday while eating a salad during the Mike Mayo Lunchbox Show. And I may stick around and bet a couple of races after that, but I'm not investing a lot of money in it because it's the holidays and money is tight, Louis. So anyway, in this case, he bets like $200 into the race, so all involving this horse, Kuwait Towers, thinking that, and he's just been assured by Luca Panici and Paco Lopez, the rider of the horse, that this horse is going to be great. So that instead, Luca could have steered him onto a horse in a second race that he rode himself and paid $38. Now, if he had put his $200 on that horse, he would have got back $3,800. Merry Christmas, Lubie. Happy Hanukkah, which starts in a couple of days. He's set for a long period of time. He would have been able to make his $5 wagers into perpetuity and never been hurt. But instead, Luca sandbags him on that horse, knows nothing about it. And his Kuwait Towers goes off and ends up running next to last. I don't know, as there was some theory maybe that the start was so bad that maybe Paco Lopez just packed it in. He's going to pay like $100 the next time because he's a really good horse. But I did some research on this, Louie, because I didn't want to invest my time and money in running out to the Harris Casino here, which is about, a 20-minute drive for me. Plus, you have to get in there and get involved and all of that. And then, are you really only going to bet that race, Lubie? I usually lose most of my bankroll before I even get to that action. But even if I had bet in advance and set it up so that I couldn't possibly do any other damage to my bankroll, still, I had to debate whether it was worth it and was this information credible. So in the process, I checked with a friend who I know is very close with the jockey that rode the horse, Paco Lopez. And he sends me back a sheet, workout sheet, and says, these are the worst workout reports in the history of thoroughbred racing. This horse couldn't win a race against one of those horses that is running in Central Park.
Oh, Jesus.
Pulling, some kind of a wagon with a bunch of newlyweds in it. Mm. So he says, but I'm not really concentrating so much. This other friend of mine, he says, I'm not really concentrating so much on horse racing right now because I'm deeply involved in the Circa Survivor. It's called the Circa Survivor Sweat Tournament. And in these Survivor tournaments, it's winner take all. You don't get paid for second, third, fourth, nothing. Have you ever been in one of these suicide/survivor pools, Libby?
No, I've never done it.
I used to enjoy them. I did it for a couple of years when the Polyman was running all kinds of pools, and We actually took one down one time, and the key to it was in I believe it was week number 1, when the Miami Dolphins with Jay Fiedler were hosting the upstart second-year Houston Texans, second-year expansion franchise Houston Texans, hosting them at what is now Hard Rock Stadium. And they were favored by like, I don't know, 17 points, something like that. It was almost like the Colts versus the Jets in Super Bowl III, the big, giant spread for early in the season. And there was every reason to believe that not only would they cover the point spread, but certainly easily win the game. So of the 100 or so people that were involved in this survivor pool, I believe 94 had the Dolphins because they just wanted to get through the first week. Fiedler throws a pick six late in the ball game. Boom, guy goes down the sideline. I happen to be standing in the end zone where the Houston player was coming right to me, and I almost jumped in his arms like Yogi Berra, jumping in the arms of Darren Lystrom after his perfect game in the '56 World Series. So sure enough, I mean, it's easy to get derailed in these things. To make it to week 13, there were 9,200 entries in this pool, I believe at a dime a pop. So you do the math on that, Lubie. What's at stake here? $9.2 million.
Wow.
The winner is walking away, put up 1,000. It's going to walk away in this tournament with $9.2 million.
Wow.
Now, to make it to week 13 is not easy. Look, most survivor pools, everybody's knocked out by what, week 7, 8, somewhere in there. I guess they go 10. I don't see many. Now, this involves a lot of people, so there is a likelihood that somebody could go the distance here, but it's not easy. So in this week's selections, I think I was given some of this yesterday on the Tony Bruno show. He sends me the chart of what people picked week 13 of the National Football League season, and 24 got knocked out last week with the Arizona Cardinals beating the Steelers. Steelers have been winning all these games in ugly fashion. They're winning like 16-13, 13-10, 9-6. They really had no offense. Their quarterback gets knocked out, Kenny Pickett, in the game. I guess he's done for the season. And the Steelers go down to, what was Arizona, like 2-10 going into that game? Just pathetic, right? Or the chances of them going on the road and winning outright were slim to none. So 24 people of those remaining, there were 80 entries remaining going into week 13 from 9,200, all right? 80 entries from 9,200, Libby, left in week 13. Of those entries, and then so 24 get knocked out on the Steelers. One loses on the Saints going down. One loses on the Jets. Those guys must have been stuck. I mean, imagine you're having to go with the Jets. And if you had to go with the Jets at home against the Falcons, you were thinking, I mean, that was only a 2-point line. So you're not really taking such a prohibitive underdog in that game. But you have the Jets. You know you're dead meat. And 24 people last night that were involved in this pool, of those that were left, which I guess was down to about 50-something, were on the Jaguars. Mm. And the Jaguars get the ball, and I guess they had deferred. They take Cincinnati out right away. Cincinnati's got a backup quarterback in there because obviously Burrow has been hurt for some time now and has been out for the season. They got this guy, Jake Browning, as their quarterback, and Browning is doing all of those things. What's your third-string quarterback's name? Beck, is it? The Florida State guy?
Brock
Glenn. I thought it was, what was the guy? Beck?
That is Georgia.
Yeah.
Carson Beck's Georgia quarterback.
Okay. Brock Glenn. Okay. They treated this Browning early in the game like he was Brock Glenn. He's throwing the same bullshit passes. I mean, line of scrimmage screens, line of scrimmage passes to wide receivers. They're resorting to some trickeration, as Don King would say, trying to do anything they can to alleviate the pressure on Browning so that he might be able to function in the passing game, as the Jaguars, I believe, are one of the top teams against the run, and the Bengals have struggled to run the football this year. I want to say that that was something that I was able to decipher from all of the commentary that was going on. And I was switching back and forth, Manning cast and Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. So anyway, and the Jaguars get the ball after stopping. Oh, they went for a fourth down. Cincinnati did. They got about to the midfield stripe. They didn't know what to do. They have a losing record. I guess they decided. Zach Taylor said, "Hey, well, why don't we just go for it?" They go for it. Miss on a fourth down play. Jags get the ball and mow right down the field, and it looks like you're off to the races, Louie. So Cincinnati somehow rallies and scores, and then it went back and forth like that the entire game. It was 7-7.
Jags score 14-7. Cincy comes back, answers back, 14-all. Jags get a touchdown, 21-14. Cincinnati strikes back. They drive the ball down the field, and it kept looking more and more improbable that Cincinnati was going to be able to come back. But this Browning started to get a little bit of a rhythm, and they changed the play calling so that he was actually throwing the ball more than 2 yards down the field.
Yeah.
And it's working, right? They're in the game. 21-all. Then they decide for some reason to revert back to these clown plays that they were running early in the ball game. Did you see this interception that was thrown where they try to run one of those plays where they pitch it to a wide receiver? He goes like he's going on a reverse, but he's going to throw it back to the other side of the field. The wide receiver was it Tyler Boyd?
Oh,
yeah, Tyler Boyd
yeah.
is a wide receiver, and he looks right at the defender was named Josh Allen, not the Buffalo Bills quarterback. I mean, Josh Allen is standing in the middle of the field, and he throws it to him at the 10-yard line.
Unbelievable.
And now all of these people that are in I mean, think about this. You have a chance to win $9.2 million, and you're living and dying with this game that's either going to propel you into week 14 or leave like a handful of people left in the contest.
Yeah.
So a lot is riding on this for those people that were involved. I mean, never mind the few bucks that I had on the game, and I had the Bengals getting 10 points. So I was looking pretty good for most of that contest. And sure enough, so now it's 28-21. You're thinking you finally got out of this. You're off the hook. And somehow Browning rallies the Bengals back, and they tie the game at 28, and then go ahead with a field goal, 31-28, late in the ballgame. You're dead meat.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Trevor Lawrence gets knocked out of the game on the ensuing drive as they're trying to come back. No, on the drive before they gave up the field goal, and now the Jags have a backup in there, and you're riding. Your whole season is riding on this. If you're in this circuit contest here, and you're stuck, one of the 24 people with the Jaguars who are just doing everything they can to figure out a way to lose this ballgame. So the backup actually takes them down the field into field goal range. They make the field goal, 31-all. It goes to overtime.
Yeah.
Reprieve, my friend. You've just been pulled out of the gas chamber. You're Carol Chessman.
Yeah.
Whitey, take him out of there. Stop it. Stop the gas. And what happens? The Jags win the toss. They get the ball. They can't get into field goal range. They punt the ball away. Cincinnati gets the ball, goes right down the field, kicks a 48-yard field goal, and that's it. So now I guess how many people would be left in this thing? Like almost nobody.
Yeah, like 20-something.
Yeah, I mean, so you had 15, 23, 28, 29, 30 people are left out of 9,200. That's how tough it is to pick a winner every week in the National Football League if you can't use the same team twice in the same season. But fascinating stuff there, man. I mean, so much. You never know what somebody's thinking when they're watching a game, right? You're falling asleep. Did you have any real interest in this ball game last night, Cincinnati and the Jaguars? It was interesting, I guess, from the local standpoint, because the Jags are ahead of the Dolphins.
Yeah,
if they win that game.
The Dolphins are now the 1 seed because the Dolphins have a better conference record than the Ravens, and they will play the Ravens head-to-head. The Dolphins now are officially 12 games in, the number 1 seed in the AFC. So I watched it. I didn't, but when it went to overtime, I'm like, I'm done. Like, I thought the Bengals would hold on when CJ Beathard was in, and the fact that the Jags marched on the field and kicked the field goal, I was like, all right, I'm going to bed. I don't know how long this fucking.
You think you're off the hook? My God. 9.2 million dangling there. The carrot is 9.2 million, Lubie. Now you had to put up, I guess, 1,000. If you do the math on that, that would be $1,000 entry into a survivor pool, which for the possibility, longest of shots, right? You have to beat 9,199 other people in this contest to win 9.2 million. Is it worth throwing 1,000 out there for a shot at that? And if you had the dime into the tournament and we're that close, you can smell the money, Lubie.
Yeah, you're there.
If it goes the distance and there is still multiple people left at the end of the season, I don't know. If they carried, I don't think you would carry that through the postseason. You would just have to split the pot if there were more than one person standing after 17 weeks. So that would be substantial. I mean, even if it's 5 guys that are left and you're carving up 9.2 million, what's wrong with that, Lubie, for just following some games in the football season? Absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately for my buddy, I'm afraid to contact him because I'm thinking since he told me he had the Jaguars
he must have told other people. Well, it's obviously, I mean, it was on the board there at the Circa Survivor Sweat tournament. And, fascinating. I don't know. I mean, I'm not inclined to ante up a dime for that sort of thing. I guess it's all proportionate to what kind of money you have. Maybe, a high roller like Andy, he might throw, like $1,000 into a pool to win $9.2 million. Impossible to even conceive that you went through, especially in this NFL season, which has been so bizarre in terms of results, and you have these crappy teams playing games where it is decided. Look at the Jaguars just a week before. Yeah. Or the Chargers, rather, that stayed alive. The Chargers, 6-0 over the Patriots. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Such ugliness.
Yeah.
Such ugliness. Yeah, you know what? They only tell you, too. I mean, that's the thing about DraftKings. And they make sure that on the PR wires, they get word to like the who's the guy, Ravel, that does the business. He's always alluding to
Darren Ravel. Yeah,
gambling hits. They make sure that they let you know that some guy bet 10 cents and ended up cashing for $472,000 on a 20-element parlay. But they never tell you about all of the poor suckers that had their money go up in smoke, that were betting like hundreds of dollars on these parlays and only to lose one element. If this is a good question, though. Had that game ended in a push, what would have happened to the people? Are you eliminated in a survivor pool if it ends in a push?
I don't think
does anybody know?
You in a push. I don't think they.
I know on the parlay cards you lose.
Oh, you do.
Well, on the parlay cards, that was when we were talking about that, where some schlub that looked like a public defender would come into the bar on a Saturday and say, "Anybody want to get in on the parlay cards?" And everybody got in on it. Right? It was like a couple of bucks, maybe $5 to get in on the thing, and you would circle as many teams as you wanted. But they had very rarely did they have the half a point. So any pushes went to the book in that case. But that was criminal activity, and that preceded and predated all of the action that you can now just have on your phone, where you're actually getting a real count. But kind of crazy, huh? Imagine the people that were invested in that ball game to that tune. How much that meant. And Zach Taylor, wow, when he why was he going with these fugazi plays late in the game? That was insane. His quarterback was driving the team like he was Peyton Manning behind the wheel there.
These coaches are weird. Look, I wish Norvell just wanted to win because he thought that winning is all that mattered. People kept saying they need to put up more points.
Yeah.
I thought that was a load of garbage because they ended up winning by 10. So it's like, as long as they don't win by 1 on a last-second field goal, I know they're going to fuck us if we do that. I wish Norvell had just gone for it because it didn't matter if you lost. It only mattered if you won big. So they needed to the problem is it was raining and it was a fucking true freshman starting his first game.
All they had to do was win that game. That would any committee that I was using any kind of credible criteria to decide what was going to happen there had to concede that whether they liked it or not, that if Florida State won that game by 1 point on a fluke, it didn't matter. That they would have accomplished what they needed to qualify, just like Washington and just like Michigan.
It's just annoying because
they had to get an automatic qualification by being a Power 5 team that went undefeated and won its championship. It's impossible to justify this from any other angle. It really is. If it's a beauty contest and you're going to have subjective opinions about who the best teams are, then you could make a case for, as you were saying yesterday, why couldn't you make a case for Georgia overall body of work or Ohio State overall body of work? Oregon had the second loss, so they dropped out of there. They were the darlings of the committee all along also.
Why wasn't the Auburn game, whatever, this is just a dumb game.
Alabama lucked out in at least a half a dozen ball games.
If FSU had Michigan's schedule, then strength of schedule wouldn't have mattered because they would have just looked at Michigan and play a ranked team until week 10.
Yeah.
Week 11. And that's all they would have done. Literally, any argument they used for Alabama, FSU had a better argument. Any argument they used against FSU, it was worse for Alabama. They weren't using arguments. The guy, literally, all the committee keeps doing is burying themselves. Like, they were talking to committee members, and they're like, look, we broke our hearts to have to do this.
No, it didn't. I mean, they were happy to do it.
We knew what we were doing. We couldn't believe we were going to do it. We went over it over again, but we just didn't feel. Listen to these words.
Yeah.
We just didn't feel making a choice, not the games played. We just didn't feel FSU could win a title. So a week earlier, did you feel Washington could win a title?
They thought Oregon could win a title.
2 weeks earlier, did you feel Alabama, after the Hail Mary versus Auburn, could win a title? Because remember, they were 8 or they were like 10 at that point. No one felt they would win.
That's a bullshit argument right there.
So you're literally admitting, oh no, it's not about the games. It's what we think can happen. What we think will happen is what matters, not the games. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then don't play anymore. Don't play a regular season. Just
it's like they're playing a board game at that point.
That's it. Just pick
Yeah.
SEC and Big Ten teams.
APBA or whatever was that?
That's
What was that? APBA?
Yeah, I don't know.
Remember the game with the dice and the cards and everything? That was great when it first came out. Is that still around? Do people still play that? No, DeForest. That went out with electronic football. APBA. I don't know. Do you ever have this game? It was actually really great. It was an early version of analytics being applied to a board game. I remember being fascinated by it. We used to play APBA football, and then they had baseball. And believe it or not, Lubie, I had created my own game, which reflected somewhat accurately the results of what might happen, even though it was contingent on a roll of the dice, my friend. Because I invented a game while I was in study hall in high school. Naturally, I didn't do a whole lot of studying, and I invented a game called Dice Boxing based on.
Yes. Nice.
And what I did was, I mean, you had just like in this APPA game, certain rolls, accomplish certain things. So, like if you rolled a 2 or a 12, that was actually good in this game, as I recall, because you would dial up a bomb, and if you rolled the right number, it would be complete. Although the odds of rolling that number obviously were the least likely. It wasn't like you were going to complete a bomb, if you were rolling a 7 there. You were literally rolling yourself right out of the contest at that point. But so it was more common, to try. You had to strategize based on the fact that the rolls of the dice were going to be at certain percentages. So you were going to have more success running the football than you would if you dialed up a bomb on every play, which I used to do as a kid. But the boxing thing came out pretty good. I probably should have done something with it. No, but nobody's playing this kind of stuff anymore, right?
Not really. It's all video games.
My grandkids, I mean, glued to a phone like this.
It's all video games. They all play video games.
I don't even recognize, one of my grandchildren. The phone is in front of his face.
Always.
There are restrictions. Now, what kind of restrictions should a parent put on a? Now you're going to have to deal with this on a kid in terms of phone use.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
remember you used to only be able to watch TV a certain number of hours in
my
certain
parents didn't
households.
do that because I like playing outside, so we were sort of free in that regard. But again, it's because we were outside all the time. Like I literally lived outside. My brother didn't play outside as much, but he did like it outside. So like they didn't have to do the screen time bullshit that people do now. When my nephews are here, I don't give them a phone. And that's what it would be is, when they get a little older, fine for safety purposes. And look, if you're in a restaurant and they start acting up, I guess you do what you have to do. Like, I don't judge people, but I would definitely do my best because what happens is these kids are like addicted to it. It's fucking weird. But we have a special caller. This gentleman has a betting app question.
Okay.
You can hear him each and every day now at 1:00 right here and see him. Today he'll be live from Deck 84. The one where Mike Mayo wants to ask a betting app question. I don't know what that means.
I would be the last guy to ask about that.
I figured. Yeah. So I'm a little confused.
He would know more about it than me. Michael Mayo, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I had a question for you, so I figured we'd put him right on.
Good morning. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes. Oh, good.
Yeah, you're
take
fine.
a walk of life. Yeah. I'm calling in as the gambling gourmet and a degenerate, and I was faced with the situation this weekend. I don't know. The decision that I made was either the lamest, most loserish, or the smartest thing that I've ever done in my life. And
what? Throw your phone in the ocean and don't bet anymore?
Delete the app.
Just treat your phone like a frisbee, Michael. Do yourself a favor. I bet if you got rid of your phone, your life would change. Much for the better, all the way around.
My bank account would definitely change much.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
All right. So what's the question?
The new Hard Rock betting app.
Yeah.
The question is, the app doesn't let you cancel a bet once you've placed it. But what it does is it lets you get a amount to cash out at a lower rate than when you first placed it. So let's say it's before game time and you placed a $10 bet. They'll let you cancel it for $9.75.
Okay.
All right. But what I didn't realize is that
sounds like one of your restaurant issues.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like they put a quarter charge on for city parking taxes, and they instead of passing it along in the menu, they charged it, and you would have 120,000 irate Let's Eat South Florida fans, writing in venomous accounts of how they got hosed.
That's not my issue. My issue is this. I placed a stupid wager on the Washington Redskins Commanders on the money line.
Yeah, because you're a dumbass.
Just because
Okay.
You're a jerk off.
one of those things that everybody in the world was going one way, and I like to go the other way. It's Tom Jick angle. But when it was like 34-7 or whatever it was at halftime, I went back on the app to check on the bet, and they were allowing me to get cash back on that bet.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, good for you.
Nice.
3 cents. What do you do?
At that point, you probably take the 3 cents. Because it's the only pennies you're going to have after Washington got crushed like a grape. You could see that game was not turning around anytime soon. Did you see the look on Ron Rivera's face? He looked like I did, after the, federal government took issue with certain things that were taking place on a Native American casino deal that we had going. He didn't look happy.
I took the 3 cents. That was, to me, it was the smartest decision at the time.
At least you made some
I think, I mean, it didn't make up for the stupid decision about Washington in the first place, but at least you got 3 cents back from your $10 or whatever that was.
The $5 bet, 3 cents back in the second half. So I felt ashamed, but 3 cents is better than nothing.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, what would our friend Sheldon G have done in that spot?
Oh no, he would have rode out. You give that guy credit; he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, there are guys though. I respect this though, don't you, Michael? I mean, you're more of a hedge fund guy like I am, or where you just don't want to lose. I mean, you're so sick of losing. But a swashbuckling type like my buddy Jersey Kyle, our mutual friend. He unfortunately he never hedges, but it ends up being worthwhile once in a while. I mean, when you do make that ultimate big score, you feel good that this was not your policy. It was to always hedge off.
Cut your losses if you're in a bad poker hand. They fold. You got to sometimes.
Especially if you're about to lose.
In this case,
you didn't lose.
That initial Commanders bet was bankrolled by the Satan himself, Nick Saban, because I did have a parlay on Alabama and the under. And
yes, nice hit there.
That was one of my. So that was one.
You're killing the Seminoles. I mean, when are they going to announce that they're out of business here, Michael? Just from your activity alone, you're killing these guys.
He's doing well on this app. So weird. He wins $4 every time, but he's at least doing well. Their wins.
No, it's good. I mean, you actually are not a bad sports handicapper. You just don't trust yourself.
Right. If I actually start betting real money, of course, none of these bets would ever cash.
No, it would be buried. Yeah. You could forget your walk of life. You'd be,
All right, guys.
Just trying to find a casket. Where are you, man? The Hollywood Beach? Where are you?
Right on the Dania Pier. I'm about to start the 4-mile walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, very nice. Okay. All right. Well, have fun with that, and we'll see you at Deck 84?
Deck 84. Hoping to get Burt Rappaport out there, but I don't know if he can make it today. But we'll get the new chef, Francesco. Fernando.
Fernando, he's great.
Francesco is the guy I'm cooking with on all of those football bets.
Yeah. He buried me too. Good thing I did a 4-horse box.
How about this though? If Francesco takes his 2 sticks, which he never bets, this is an enormous bet for this guy. This would be like you unloading 20 dimes on a horse. If he just bets it on Luca when he ran in the second race, he gets back 3,800, and he's out for the last 6 months. Unbelievable.
Like how is Francesco still friends with Luca? I mean,
he loves the guy. You met him. How could you not like Luca?
Him on this. No, of course you like Luca, but he cold watered him on a winner and then buried him on a 30-1.
Buried.
Still running. And it's, with friends like that, who needs enemies? I mean, that's.
Well, we know this. I mean, the lesson in all of that is that jockeys and trainers are almost always the worst outs at the track. But Luca doesn't want to do this. I mean, Francesco begs him for information all the time, so he finally volunteered something, and unfortunately, this was the time where Francesco decided this is the one he's going to be right. He's done well with us in the past on certain things, but it's not really his game. I mean,
Luca, we got to get Luca back on the lunchbox one Friday.
Yeah,
because he helped me out. He placed on a 40-1 shot the other week on a 4 to 5 shot, won the race, and Luca finished second and a key to $100 trifecta for me. I was happy. I was giddy. I turned $3 something into 102. It's great.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, I mean, you should. I don't know. I mean, you're having some success with your sports betting, and I like the fact that you minimize your losses there by cashing out at 3 cents. Do you go there and demand it? I mean, is it already back in your account?
Back into the account.
Oh, nice.
Right
Okay.
back into the account. And the app is really good in terms of putting money in or withdrawing money. It goes in and out of your Venmo within minutes, and it's back in your bank account if you hate it. So I am here as far as a degenerate and the gambling gourmet to put in a 4-star, 5-star review for the Seminole app. Again, my one nitpick is that you can't cancel bets once you place them, unlike most of the horse racing betting apps that it's before or post time. You can still cancel your bet, but
they're only charging you like 25 cents or something to cancel a bet. Is that the deal?
Yeah. You can
All right. I can live with that.
For small fees,
The hassle they went through of booking your bet. I mean, I think of all the Michigan people that make bets and then they would be canceling it all day long. It's a restaurant charge for water, my friend. Same thing. All right, Mike Mayo, ladies and gentlemen, on the Walk of Life. That's good to hear. Because you notice something that happens every time we show up at a place now, and I don't notice it because we see him every day. It looks the same to me, right? But every single restaurateur and chef rubs his belly like it was a Buddha.
They all pointed out. It's like, dude, what do you guys want? This is what he does. And he is walking.
You keep feeding the cat, right? Then they bring out like 20 dishes for the three of us. It's incredible.
Exactly.
All right. We're going to come back with more in a moment here. We're just kind of rambling today here because everybody's still so upset. They're stewing. I mean, you can't pick up a newspaper or look online, listen to any sports conversation that doesn't all universally think that what happened with the Florida State Seminoles, not because they're a team that we are familiar with or whatever. Lubie obviously has, his heart invested in this, but I don't. I mean, I do like the program. I always did. I like Mike Norvell a lot from his appearances here on this show, which does he need to do this show? I mean, our last guest was Mike Mayo, for God's sake.
I've had him on every year.
Every year. And they're more...
Cristobal, Cristobal knows you by name. Like if you mention the name Defo to Cristobal, he says, "Oh, I love Defo." We have not had him on once on any of our shows. Even when we're on the radio, we didn't have him on. Norvell, we've had him on every year, whether it's radio or here, every year.
I always liked that about the Seminoles program.
Yeah,
certain schools know how to do it. I mean, they just do. Florida State was always one of those. I mean, I guess initiated by Bobby Bowden. I'm not sure. See, now the Hurricanes, they could never have been more media friendly than they were when Howard Schnellenberger was there. That was one of his things, right? Angelo Dundee used to always kind of impress me with the idea that he understood, like Howard did and like Bobby Bowden did, that you need to go out there and be your biggest promoter. And the press is not your enemy; they're your friends, especially in the sports landscape. Because what are we doing? We're talking about how, even if you're trashing a team, I guess every day, that's not going to be something that, is necessarily beneficial to their overall, bottom line. But in general, you're just promoting the living fuck out of all of this stuff, aren't you, Libby? Why would you want to run from us? But, that is weird because I remember covering Mario as a player when I was involved with the broadcast with the Hurricanes, and always very personable. One of those guys. Offensive linemen are always guys that you can go to when you're in a crunch for a quote, right? Because everybody else is ducked out. They're in the shower. They're in the training room. And the offensive linemen were always, very capable of giving you an intelligent, a well-thought-out answer. Even, and less inclined maybe to be laced with cliche. So they were always a good source. And they're down there in the trenches. After all, don't they know what's going on? Yep. It's good. It was either the offensive lineman or the kicker that you went to, even if the kicker hadn't been in the game.
They'll talk.
Go running to Stoyo. Hey, Stoyo, what'd you think? Well, you know what? We probably shouldn't have run the ball in that spot. Next thing you know, he's getting a scathing indictment in an email from the front office. All right, we're going to come back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:50. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine foods served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Hear me, I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence! In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside so we can check. Furthermore, all children under 16 years old are now 16 years old.
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket?
Power has driven him mad.
Welcome back to the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Good to have you guys with us here at the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. Good to hear from Mike Mayo. Deck 84 later on today. Bert Rappaport's joined one of his 4 places that he's operating right now. This was a guy that started with raffles many years ago, discovered the Miami Sound Machine, right? Gloria Estefan would still be bussing tables if it wasn't for Bert Rappaport. This guy has launched a lot of careers in the restaurant industry, so it'll be good to be out there later on. And, you know, I mean, it's good. Mike's out there on the walk. I'm happy to hear that, Lubie, because he shines it every now and then under the auspices of too busy to get it going. Single most important thing, right? Just get out there and get your body moving and make something happen. Yesterday, I'm in the grocery store very briefly, Lubie. I had to pick up a prescription, and it had been sitting there for a couple of days. So I was going out that direction, going to a meeting at the Harris Casino. Well, one of the rare times I actually was going to a meeting at a casino, when that was my stated mission to whoever I was being responsible to as to my whereabouts, in this case, the Mustang. Where are you going? I'm going to Harris. Oh, yeah? Well, you know, we're a little short on capital. No, I'm going to a meeting. I'm going to try to make some money. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah. So, you know, all of a sudden it was like important what I looked like. Oh, yeah, you know, you want to wear that shirt, whatever. So that was good. And I end up stopping at the grocery store very briefly. And as I'm walking through there, you know, you come into Publix, and you're right by all of the checkout counters there as you walk in the door. In this particular Publix configuration, I'm not sure. It's not the same in all of them. Sometimes they have like a little side thing, and then you get to the cashiers. I don't know how it is at your local Publix. Do you shop at Publix, Lubie, or are you smart enough to go elsewhere?
I do the buy one, get ones on certain things.
Yeah.
I rarely shop at Publix. I mean, they're just too expensive.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah. I mean, but when I noticed everybody looks depressed in the grocery store, and you're thinking, shouldn't people be just giddy here? I mean, after all, you're picking up anything that you could possibly want to eat. It's right there in front of you. It's a kid in a candy store, literally. I mean, when it comes to food, right? I don't know. Are there that many people that are kind of driven by food as possibly those of us that participate in Mike Mayo's Lunchbox show? Maybe not, but why would you be depressed outside of the fact that, you know, you're not going to be able to make your mortgage payment after you buy a tub of cream cheese? Have you noticed that? People in stores are not happy, right? If you come in there happy, you get kind of looks like you're a psycho. And the next thing you know, they're like whoever's involved in security. You think they have plainclothes security people perusing Publix just to combat shoplifting and things like that, Louie? In case Jameis Winston shows up? cheap Jameis Winston joke. But you know what I mean. I don't know. Are people like stuffing steaks under their shirt?
I don't know.
Or trying to walk out of there? How does that work?
Not really. I mean, I'm sure it happens here and there, but I don't think it happens like that.
But if you come into a grocery store and you're too happy, it's likely that somebody in management will be eventually tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Sir, is everything okay?" You're like, "Yeah, I'm fine." How depressed are people in grocery stores? Is that strictly a correlation to the outrageous pricing? Is there a grocery store that you go into and everybody's happy? They're all on pogo sticks, jumping up and down, just hopping from aisle to aisle, saying, "Wow, isn't shopping here an absolute pleasure?" Notice, have they gone away from that phrase, that slogan also? Because that's as bogus as these statements that are coming out of the College Football Playoff Committee, which still, I mean, you're entitled to bitch about this forever, Lubie.
I mean, it's not about a bitching. If you notice, I'm not bitching about it. I'm not saying anything until people bring it up. It's whatever. The sport's just dead to me. I'm not trying to be dramatic. Like, what's funny is this is
people say that all the time. though. The fan boycott. Like, I'll never watch another football game. Who does?
Have I ever said that? Like, I don't say that. Like, no. I'm not hyperbolic. I'm during a game. There's no sanity. Everything I say is utterly insane. I openly admit that. It's why I've tried to stop being on Twitter during a game, because I rant to myself. If I keep it here,
no, it's not something that anybody should ever witness. But without some kind of preceding warning and disclaimer.
If you notice, before and after game, I'm not. Before and after a game, I'm very logical and objective, because I'm thinking clearly. I don't do a never gonna watch. No, why would I say that? I love sports, especially football, and even other sports. I'll watch them in the big moments. So why would I say something like that? This is different. And that's the thing. I'm hurt because I'm a Florida State fan. You're not hurt. But I'm not the only one saying this. It's not only Florida State fans. Actually, outside of SEC and ESPN and Fox, everyone is saying what I'm saying. So you won't have the emotional attachment to it. But from a logical standpoint, it demeans the game. The game is now.
No, it's terrible what happened.
Like Mike Green, what's so funny is, outside of Colin Cowherd and Doug Gottlieb, who have stuck to this, and now Greg McElroy flipped, which is weird. I mean, he's an Alabama guy, I guess. But the majority of people, even like all weekend, Mike Greenberg, who we both make fun of, and I don't understand why he's as big as he is, but good for him, all weekend was saying the shit that pissed me off. Like, I don't even follow him, but he was popping up on my Twitter, and it was all like, FSU, this offense sucks. This offense is the worst. This team doesn't deserve it. This team doesn't belong. This team. But I guess he was just saying that, which is fine. Like, people will watch a game and go, dang, this team doesn't deserve it, but assume they'll make it, right? You can say FSU wasn't playing well. You said it. I agreed with you. FSU's offense sucked. Fine. But we all still felt they earned.
Well, and that's part of being a good team, though, is you figure out a way to win the game.
Well, it's fine. Like, before, during a game, before, after.
It's Herm Edwards City, right there. You play to win the game. That's it.
When we have no power, it's okay. I don't care what. I didn't like reading it, but you're allowed to say it. But I guess he assumed, even with saying it, they still would make it, right? Like,
if Travis is still there, are they in for sure?
They're not making it. No, they're not making it. They made it clear they weren't going to make it.
Yeah.
But my thing is, you can say whatever you want on Twitter, but down deep, if you know they still deserve a shot, whether or not you want them there, whether or not we're going to mock it Monday. Oh my God, I can't believe FSU made it. You still would rather them be in, right? Because they earned a spot. So once
they deserved a chance to show that they didn't belong, which we've seen that before also.
Yeah, that's it.
In the college football playoffs, in the 4-team configuration, where there was one team in there you knew was going to get creamed.
So the long point I'm making is, so Greenberg, who all weekend said this, and I was losing. I actually blocked him because I didn't want to hear it anymore.
You blocked Mike Greenberg?
Monday changed. Monday, as Dan Orlovsky all year, that's what's annoying about this to me, is all year guys said, just win. Travis got hurt, and they're like, didn't even say win by a lot. They said just win. Travis, Herb Street, and Orlovsky said that. McElroy was championing FSU as recent as Friday night. McElroy was championing FSU. All of a sudden, Sunday, when they're like, oh shit, we just paid $3 billion. The bosses are yelling at me. SEC has to have a team. They changed even before the thing, they changed everything. Mike Greenberg Monday lost it. Mike Greenberg's like, this is a fucking joke. Like, I think he almost cursed while I'm on air. He's like, it's a joke. He's like, yes, their offense. He's like, none of that matters. They won. He's like, all we asked of them.
Oh, they came around to the right point of view. Okay.
Yes. Just Greenberg. Greenberg lost it. There's a rant. And
no, it's ridiculous because, if it was going to be subjective, And I mean, why was Michigan's undefeated season so much better than Florida State's at this point?
It wasn't. No. By
Overall, I mean, they are they weakened when Harbaugh was not in the
why did
on the
cheating not
sidelines?
matter? Why did they literally cheated to win games this season? Why did that not matter?
Well, even that, I mean, just ignoring that for just the pure on-field accomplishments, whatever. Did they look that great?
No.
They had to manufacture a couple of victories, in spite of the fact that it seemed like all the way up to the Penn State game, as we said many times throughout the season, including teasing our good friend Ed Garcia of Texas Roadhouse, a diehard Michigan fan, that that the schedule was beyond suspect for whatever reason. Whether teams were down that they had scheduled 10 years ago that normally were very good, whatever the reason.
True. See, the one thing, look, that's what I'm not mad about Michigan, the Big Ten sucking. What FSU did, and that's what Greenberg said. He's like, what else did you want them to do? They went out of their way to play power. It's not that they just played an SEC team, which you'll see Alabama play like.
Well, I mean, as you said, this guy is going to win the Heisman Trophy. Jaden Daniels.
Right. They went and played LSU, which was number 5 at the time.
Yeah.
And LSU every year is top 3 in the SEC. They were better than Georgia for years.
Yes.
So they went out of their way to do. They knew it was coming, right? They knew you're going to critique the ACC. Fine. So they went out of the way to play LSU, and they play Florida every year. It's not their fault. Florida sucked. Remember, Florida used to be good. It's not their fault.
Florida just had the week before, I believe, had given Missouri all it could handle.
Yes.
Number 9 team in the country.
Okay, the ACC ended. First of all,
with a backup quarterback to the backup.
The ACC ended up being better than they're giving it credit. The ACC had the most bowl teams.
Yeah.
Like, making a bowl used to be a thing. If your conference has 8 bowl teams, I guess your conference doesn't suck. But fine, we all know how they feel about the ACC.
It was the most ridiculous thing, Louis. I mean, it was insane. You could go. It's so disgusting, and it reeks so badly of the entire hypocrisy about A, amateur, and B, college sports. That and I'm not one of those guys that's going to say I'll never watch another college football game, but there has to be at least some element of disgust with what transpired there, whether you were a Florida State fan or not. I mean, this team completely got fucked.
Yes.
As who's to say that Washington's undefeated season or Michigan's was any better? And if anything, you would have to really give Florida State some additional credit in the credentials and the rankings, because they did it with under impossible circumstances. So everybody thought they were going to lose.
Both Georgia and Alabama in the last 8 years have had quarterbacks get hurt near the end of the year. They then won after that and went into the playoff.
Yeah.
Same situation.
It's nuts. No. All right. We got to run. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Tony Segreto should be along. Hopefully we worked out his technical issue and we'll be able to go old school. And Ed Garcia, a very happy man, will be with us from Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. He is our Michigan connection on the show. Later on, Tony Bruno Sports Network. We got through one yesterday without a glitch, so I don't want to jinx that. Let's hope it goes 2 for 2 today, and that we could consider this our official launch. We'll start stepping things up on the Tony Bruno Sports Network now that we know it works, Lubie. It was very tough on you. You were the most frustrated. It's hard to keep starting shows and stopping them, and starting and stopping, and then the 20-minute talk-free commercial sweep was a killer. I would imagine most audience had tuned out by the time we got to that second spot for the irritable bowel syndrome. Which, did you notice that, Lubie? Do you notice that at the beginning of the show? Where the irritable bowel syndrome spot
it's right there, yep.
trails in, and then Tony's voice comes booming over it with a promo for the network to announce, the beginning of our show. And the irritable bowel spot, just like irritable bowel syndrome, just continues right through that. Have you caught that?
Yeah.
If you wanted to illustrate the problems of irritable bowel syndrome, just listen to the beginning of our show on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. And it's Sports Illustrated, my friends. I will see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:05.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.